There's a dangerous lie in the world today. The idea that kindness means saying yes to everything, tolerating everything, and approving of everything. That's not kindness, that's compromise. True kindness is not about making everyone comfortable. It's about leading people toward what is right, even when it's unpopular, even when it costs you. If you are kind to everyone without discernment, you will find yourself defending the wrong, excusing sin, and protecting lies. The word tells us to love our neighbor, but love is not blind acceptance. Love warns. Love confronts. Love sometimes says, no. Imagine a doctor who sees a deadly disease, but refuses to tell the patient because it might hurt their feelings. That's not kindness, that's cruelty dressed in a smile. In the same way, if you see a friend walking toward destruction and you remain silent, you are not being loving. You are being selfish, protecting your own comfort instead of their soul. We are called to show mercy, yes, but also to walk in truth. That means you will sometimes stand alone. That means people will misunderstand you, call you judgmental, even turn their backs on you. But the measure of your life is not how many people liked you. It's how faithfully you stood for what is right. Stop being kind in a way that betrays the truth. Stop offering soft words when the moment calls for strong ones. Stop patting people on the back while they walk toward a cliff. Be the voice that warns, the hand that pulls them back, the light that exposes the darkness. Real kindness is rooted in truth, and truth without apology will set people free. Kindness without discernment is like giving medicine without knowing the diagnosis. It may feel like the right thing, but it could be causing more harm than good. In today's world, kindness is often confused with agreement, and compassion is mistaken for unconditional acceptance of all behaviors, beliefs, and lifestyles. This misunderstanding creates a culture where truth is watered down in the name of keeping the peace, and where the desire to be liked outweighs the courage to stand for what is right. Discernment is the ability to judge well, to see beyond the surface, and to separate truth from deception. Without it, our kindness can be manipulated, misdirected, and ultimately used to support the very things that destroy lives. When we extend kindness without discernment, we risk strengthening harmful habits, enabling destructive choices, and giving our approval to actions that lead people away from what is good and pure. A smile, a kind word, or an act of generosity can be powerful. But when directed toward supporting something that is wrong, it stops being love. It becomes silent participation in the problem. For example, comforting someone in their pain is good, but telling them their harmful behavior is acceptable just so they feel better is not kindness. It is compromise. Real compassion cares too much to leave someone in their brokenness without pointing them toward truth and change. Many people avoid confrontation under the banner of kindness, thinking that silence will maintain peace. But this kind of peace is an illusion. It's the same as watching a friend head toward the edge of a cliff and choosing not to shout a warning because you don't want to upset them. Discernment sees the danger ahead and compels you to speak up, even when it might be uncomfortable or misunderstood. Without discernment, kindness turns into passivity, and passivity allows destruction to continue unchecked. We live in a time when standing for truth often invites criticism, labels, and even outright hostility. Because of this, many people choose the path of least resistance, being agreeable to everyone. This approach may win temporary approval, but it sacrifices integrity. The danger lies in the subtle shift from kindness as a virtue to kindness as a tool for avoiding conflict. When that happens, kindness stops serving others and starts serving ourselves. We use it to protect our image, our relationships, and our comfort instead of using it to protect truth and righteousness. Discernment keeps kindness anchored in wisdom. It asks, what is the best thing for this person in the long run? Rather than, God, how can I make them feel good in this moment? Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is offer a hard truth, set a boundary, or refuse to participate in something wrong. These actions may not feel kind to the other person in the moment, but they can be life-saving over time. For instance, refusing to cover for a coworker's dishonesty may strain the relationship temporarily, but it upholds integrity and prevents further harm. The world celebrates a version of kindness that never offends, but real kindness is not afraid of offense if it is the result of telling the truth in love. Discernment helps you know when to comfort, and when to challenge, when to be silent, and when to speak, when to extend grace, and when to call for accountability. Without this wisdom, you can easily become a tool for someone else's destruction, thinking you are helping them while you are actually keeping them trapped. Consider how harmful it is to enable destructive behavior in the name of being kind. When a friend is abusing drugs, kindness without discernment may sound like, "I'm here for you no matter what," without addressing the addiction. True kindness with discernment says, "I care about you too much to let you keep hurting yourself, and I will walk with you toward help." One response maintains comfort while the other invites transformation. Only one is truly loving. It is also important to understand that discernment protects kindness from being exploited. There are people who will take advantage of those who are generous, forgiving, and accommodating. Without the ability to see their true intentions, you can waste your energy, resources, and time on people who have no interest in changing, who only want to use your kindness for their own benefit. Discernment doesn't make you hard or unkind. It makes your kindness more strategic and effective. It directs your compassion to places where it can bear real fruit, instead of feeding cycles of manipulation and abuse. When kindness is led by discernment, it becomes a force for genuine change. It is no longer about pleasing people. It is about helping them step into a better path. This means sometimes your kindness will be misunderstood, rejected, or even resented. But that is the price of love that is real. It is far better to risk being disliked for speaking the truth than to be liked for helping someone stay comfortable in their harm. In the end, kindness without discernment is not really kindness at all. It's a counterfeit version that values short-term harmony over long-term good. It seeks approval more than transformation, and it leaves people exactly where they are instead of leading them to where they need to be. Discernment ensures that your kindness has depth, direction, and purpose. It reminds you that love is not just about warmth and softness. It is also about courage and strength. By pairing kindness with discernment, you protect both yourself and others from the slow poison of compromise, and instead offer the kind of compassion that truly sets people free. True love is often misunderstood as always agreeing, always approving, and always making the other person feel good. But real love is far deeper than constant affirmation. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is to tell them, no. It might not be the answer they want to hear, but it could be the answer they need. Love that never says no is not love at all. It is fear of conflict, fear of rejection, or fear of discomfort disguised as kindness. When you truly care about someone, you are concerned about their well-being, not just in the moment, but in the long run. Saying no may cause temporary disappointment, but it can prevent lasting damage. A parent who never says no to a child creates a world without boundaries, and without boundaries, there is no safety. Children learn self-control, respect, and wisdom from those boundaries, even if they resist them at first. In the same way, adults also need limits. Limits that protect their character, their health, their relationships, and their future. True love understands that not every desire should be fulfilled, and not every request should be granted. Some paths lead to destruction. Gone to encourage someone to walk down those paths in the name of love. is to betray them. If a friend is about to make a decision that will bring harm, it is not loving to stand silently by and let them proceed just to avoid making them upset. It is loving to step in and say, "I can't support this. This is not good for you." That may be hard to hear, but it's far better than letting them suffer the consequences alone. Saying no often requires courage because it can risk your relationship. People may accuse you of being judgmental, harsh, or unkind. They may pull away from you for a season. But love is willing to endure the discomfort of being misunderstood if it means protecting the other person from greater harm. It chooses truth over approval, protection over popularity. Real love is not about how someone feels in the moment. It's about what is best for their soul in the long term. There's a temptation to think that always agreeing will make people love you more. But in reality, it makes your love shallow and unreliable. If you cannot say no, you cannot truly be trusted, because trust is built on the understanding that you will be honest, even when it is hard. People may initially resist your refusal, but deep down, they respect someone who stands firm for what is right. The yes that follows 1,000 compromises is meaningless compared to the no that protects someone from danger. True love also recognizes that enabling someone's harmful behavior is the opposite of helping them. Imagine a loved one caught in addiction. Love that is afraid to say no might continue giving them money or resources, thinking it will keep them close or make them happy. But this only feeds the addiction and delays the opportunity for change. Love that is willing to say no may refuse to give them what they ask for, even at the cost of their temporary anger, in order to lead them toward recovery. It is not cruel to say no when no is necessary. It is cruel to allow someone to harm themselves without resistance. Many times, no is not a rejection of the person, but a rejection of the destructive choice they are making. This distinction matters because love should always affirm the value of the person, even while opposing the danger in their actions. When you love someone, you separate their worth from their behavior, so that your no becomes an act of guarding their life rather than condemning it. The willingness to say no is also a sign of strength in love. Weak love is easily swayed by emotion, by the fear of losing someone's approval, or by the desire to avoid uncomfortable conversations. Strong love remains steady and refuses to compromise, even under pressure. It sees beyond the immediate reaction to the bigger picture of where a certain choice will lead. A momentary frown or harsh word from someone you care about is worth enduring if it means they will avoid years of regret. Sometimes, love says no, simply because the timing is wrong. Not every door that opens should be walked through immediately. Love has the patience to wait for the right moment, even if it means denying something that looks good in the present. This patience protects from rushing into decisions that could bring unnecessary pain. It's a reminder that no does not always mean never. Sometimes it means not now. In a world where saying yes is often seen as the highest form of love, it takes real courage to be the person who says no when needed. It takes discernment to know the difference between selfish denial and protective refusal. And it takes compassion to endure the misunderstanding that might come when someone cannot yet see that your no is actually a deeper yes to their future, their health, their growth, and their ultimate good. Love that never says no is like a guard who never closes the gate. It leaves the ones you care about vulnerable to every danger. True love stands at the gate, watches for what would harm, and has the courage to close the door when it must. Saying no is not a sign of withholding love. It is a sign that your love is strong enough to do what is right, even when it is hard. There is a kind of silence that comes from wisdom, patience, and timing. But there is also a silence that comes from fear. a comfort-driven silence that chooses ease over truth. It is the silence that avoids hard conversations because they might lead to conflict. The silence that looks away from wrong because addressing it might make things awkward. The silence that smiles when it should speak. This kind of silence is not harmless. It is a quiet agreement with what is wrong, a passive permission for destruction to continue. Comfort-driven silence is tempting because it feels safe. It allows you to keep your relationships smooth on the surface, to avoid uncomfortable stares, to dodge accusations or angry words. It shields you from the pain of being misunderstood. But while it may protect you in the moment, it harms others in the long run. When truth is absent from our words, it is absent from our influence. Choosing silence to preserve your own comfort is often choosing to let someone walk deeper into harm without warning them. It is easy to convince yourself that staying silent is the more peaceful choice, but that peace is only an illusion. True peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of truth and righteousness. Avoiding confrontation might keep the waters calm for a while, but it allows hidden dangers to grow unchecked beneath the surface. When you remain silent in the face of wrongdoing, you allow it to harden, to spread, and to gain power. By the time the truth is finally spoken, the damage is often far greater. Sometimes comfort-driven silence comes from a fear of rejection. You don't want to lose a friend, alienate a family member, or create tension in a workplace. The risk feels too great. But love, integrity, and faithfulness demand that you be willing to risk discomfort for the sake of what is right. You cannot build a life of deep trust and respect on a foundation of unspoken truths. Silence may protect you from short-term awkwardness, but it erodes the long-term strength of your relationships, because those who truly care for you will eventually notice that you are not willing to speak the truth when it matters most. There are times when the right thing to say will not be welcomed. The person you confront may be defensive, even angry. They might accuse you of being judgmental or unkind. But the absence of truth in their life will not be filled by your silence. It will only leave them more vulnerable to pain, deception, and regret. Speaking truth is not about winning an argument. It is about sounding an alarm before disaster strikes. If your loved one were about to step in front of a speeding car, you would not stay silent to avoid startling them. In the same way, moral and spiritual danger calls for a voice that refuses to be quiet. Comfort-driven silence can also be rooted in a desire to protect your own reputation. You don't want to be labeled as difficult or too intense. You don't want to stand out in a crowd for the wrong reasons. But truth-telling has never been the path of popularity. Those who make a difference in the world are often those who are willing to speak when others remain silent. They understand that their calling is not to be liked, but to be faithful. Remaining silent for comfort's sake can be especially dangerous when it comes to patterns of sin or injustice. History is full of examples where silence allowed evil to thrive. Entire communities have suffered because good people refused to speak up. In personal relationships, silence can allow abuse to continue, unhealthy behaviors to worsen, and wounds to go unhealed. When you choose comfort over courage, you are choosing to allow harm to spread unchecked. Speaking up does not mean you must be harsh or reckless with your words. Truth can be delivered with compassion, humility, and patience. But it must still be delivered. There is a time to wait for the right moment. But there is also a time when waiting becomes enabling. Discernment helps you know when your silence is wise and when it is selfish. If you find yourself holding back simply because you want to avoid feeling uncomfortable, it is time to re-examine your motives. Sometimes, breaking your comfort-driven silence will mean challenging someone you love, and that can feel like betrayal. But if your goal is their ultimate good, then speaking truth is one of the highest acts of loyalty. Silence keeps people where they are. Truth gives them the chance to change. It may sting at first, but wounds from a friend who cares are better than empty flattery that leaves someone blind to their own danger. The cost of speaking up may be high, but the cost of staying silent can be far higher. Words unspoken can haunt you, leaving you wondering if things could have been different had you been brave enough to say what needed to be said. A moment of discomfort is a small price to pay compared to a lifetime of regret for allowing harm to continue when you had the chance to stop it. In the end, your silence will either protect your comfort or protect someone's future. You cannot have both. Comfort-driven silence is a false refuge. It feels safe, but it slowly eats away at your courage, your integrity, and your ability to truly love others. To care deeply for someone is to be willing to step out of the safety of silence and into the risk of truth. That is where real peace begins, not in the quiet avoidance of hard things, but in the bold speaking of what is right, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. Truth and mercy are not opposites, they are partners, each incomplete without the other. Truth without mercy can become harsh, cold, and crushing, leaving no room for grace or redemption. Mercy without truth can become weak, sentimental, and enabling, allowing wrong to continue unchecked. When the two work together, they create a powerful force that confronts what is wrong while still offering hope and restoration. It is only in their union that people find both the clarity they need to change and the compassion that makes change possible. Truth reveals reality as it is. It does not sugarcoat or hide facts. It exposes sin, error, and brokenness for what they are. Without truth, there can be no real transformation, because change requires an honest look at the problem. But truth on its own can leave people feeling crushed under the weight of their failures. It can point out the wound, but offer no healing. This is why mercy is so vital. Mercy steps in to lift up the fallen, to offer forgiveness, to remind them they are not beyond hope. Mercy, on the other hand, moves with compassion toward those who are hurting or struggling. It forgives offenses, offers second chances, and sees the value of a person even when they are at their worst. But mercy without truth is incomplete because it refuses to address the real issues that cause harm. It can comfort someone in their pain, but leave them bound to the same patterns that brought them there. Without truth, mercy becomes a temporary bandage over a wound that continues to deepen. When truth and mercy work together, they create a balance that reflects both justice and love. Truth says, this is the reality of what you've done and where it leads. Mercy says, I will not abandon you because of it. And there is a way forward. Truth without mercy may win arguments, but it rarely wins hearts. Mercy without truth may soothe the emotions, but it rarely changes lives. Together, they speak to both the mind and the heart, calling a person to change while also giving them the courage to try. In relationships, this balance is critical. A friend who only tells you the truth may leave you feeling judged and condemned, while a friend who only offers mercy may never challenge you to grow. The most loyal and loving friends are those who can look you in the eye, speak the truth about your situation, and still stand beside you as you work through it. They do not excuse your wrongs, but they do not define you by them either. Truth and mercy together also protect against two common extremes: self-righteousness and permissiveness. Truth alone can lead to pride, where people see themselves as morally superior because they stand for what's right, without showing grace to those who struggle. Mercy alone can lead to permissiveness, where anything goes in the name of love, and no one is held accountable. When combined, truth humbles us by showing that we all fall short, and mercy humbles us by reminding us that we all need grace. This partnership also has a powerful effect on communities. A society built only on truth will become rigid and unforgiving, punishing mistakes without room for change. A society built only on mercy will lose its moral compass, excusing harmful behavior until there is no standard left to uphold. Healthy communities require both: a commitment to justice that holds people accountable, and a spirit of mercy that allows for forgiveness and restoration. In personal growth, truth and mercy are equally necessary. Truth is what allows you to see your flaws, weaknesses, and failures clearly. Without it, you might believe you are fine when you are not. Mercy is what keeps you from being crushed under that awareness. It reminds you that you can start again, that your worth is not defined by your worst moments. Truth challenges you to improve. Mercy gives you the strength to keep trying even when you fail. Sometimes people fear bringing truth into a conversation because they don't want to hurt someone's feelings. Others fear showing mercy because they think it might make them look weak or like they are approving of what's wrong. But the reality is, truth without mercy often drives people away from change, while mercy without truth often keeps them from even seeing the need for it. Real courage is found in being able to say the hard thing with a soft heart, to confront without condemning, to correct without crushing. When you approach someone with both truth and mercy, your goal is not to win, but to heal. Truth opens their eyes, mercy opens their heart. Truth points to the standard, mercy points to the way back when they've fallen short. Truth calls for justice, mercy offers grace. Together, they create the kind of love that does not ignore sin, but also does not withhold forgiveness. It is a love that restores rather than rejects. The harmony of truth and mercy requires humility, because it means admitting that you too need both. You cannot offer truth rightly if you forget your own need for mercy, and you cannot offer mercy rightly if you ignore the truth about your own flaws. When you live in this awareness, your words carry both weight and warmth. They carry conviction, but also compassion. They reflect the reality that no one is too far gone for redemption, and no one is too perfect to be corrected. When truth and mercy walk hand in hand, they change the way we deal with conflict, the way we guide others, and the way we respond to failure. They remind us that we are called not only to confront what is wrong, but to restore what is broken. Truth without mercy can break a person down. Mercy without truth can keep a person stuck. But together, they build up, they set free, and they point the way toward lasting change. Standing for what is right is rarely the easy choice. It often comes with a price that can be paid in relationships, in reputation, in comfort, and sometimes even in safety. The world does not always welcome truth, and it rarely applauds those who refuse to compromise it. Choosing to live with conviction can set you apart, and being set apart can be lonely. Yet the cost of remaining silent or compromising your values is far greater, for it chips away at your integrity and robs you of the peace that comes from knowing you have done what is right. When you stand for what is right, you challenge the status quo. You become a disruption to systems, behaviors, and attitudes that many have grown comfortable with. People who benefit from what is wrong will not celebrate your stand. They may resist you, criticize you, or try to silence you. Some may even twist your motives or accuse you of arrogance. You may lose the approval of those whose respect you once valued. The temptation will be strong to step back into the shadows, to soften your message, to settle for quiet agreement instead of open conviction. But the moment you choose comfort over courage, you have surrendered something far more valuable than acceptance. You have surrendered your voice. There is also the reality that standing for what is right may bring personal sacrifice. You might lose opportunities because you refuse to compromise your principles. You might watch doors close because you will not bend to unethical demands. Friendships might end when you refuse to join in behavior you know is wrong. You might find yourself isolated in a room where you once felt welcome. These losses are painful because they are tangible. You feel them in the empty spaces where companionship or opportunity used to be. But those spaces, though they hurt, are far better than filling your life with the hollow comfort of knowing you fit in by betraying your own conscience. Standing for what is right can also bring emotional and mental strain. It takes strength to repeatedly choose the hard path, especially when the rewards are not immediate. You may question yourself in the quiet moments, wondering if the cost is worth it, if perhaps you should have chosen the easier road. Doubt will try to whisper that your efforts are pointless, that your voice is too small to make a difference. But the worth of doing what is right is not measured by the size of the outcome. It is measured by the faithfulness of the stand. Even when no one else seems to notice, you know that your actions align with your convictions, and that alignment brings a kind of peace no compromise can offer. One of the hardest costs of standing for what is right is the strain it can place on relationships. Those closest to you may not understand your choice. They may feel hurt, betrayed, or judged by your refusal to go along with them. They may distance themselves, and you may find yourself walking alone for a time. This is especially difficult because the longing for connection is deeply human. Yet there is a difference between unity and conformity. Unity is built on shared truth. Conformity is built on avoiding conflict. True unity can withstand disagreement, but conformity crumbles the moment the pressure to compromise is removed. When you refuse to compromise truth for the sake of keeping peace, you may lose some relationships, but those who remain are often the ones who value you for who you truly are. The cost can also be practical. Standing for what is right in the workplace might mean refusing to lie, manipulate, or cut corners, even if it costs you a promotion or your job. In society, it might mean speaking out against injustice, even if it brings criticism from your community. In personal life, it might mean setting boundaries with loved ones, even when it leads to conflict or misunderstanding. These costs are not small, but they are worth paying if it means keeping your integrity intact. The alternative is to live with the quiet torment of knowing you chose safety over truth. The truth is, doing what is right often feels like swimming upstream. The current of culture, convenience, and compromise is strong, and it will push against you at every turn. But every step you take against that current strengthens you. Each time you choose principle over popularity, you reinforce the courage to do it again. Courage, like a muscle, grows with use. The more you stand, the stronger you become. And as you stand, you may find that others who have been silent are inspired to stand as well. Your example can become a spark that encourages others to choose integrity over acceptance. History is filled with examples of people who paid dearly for standing for what is right, some losing their positions, their freedom, and even their lives. They were often criticized and rejected in their time, but they are remembered and honored because they refused to bow to what was wrong. They understood that while the cost of doing right is high, the cost of doing wrong is far higher. Compromise can buy temporary comfort, but it often leaves lasting regret. Doing right may bring temporary pain, but it leaves a legacy of honor and peace. In the end, the cost of standing for what is right is not something to be feared, but something to be expected. It is the evidence that you have chosen the narrow path, the path that refuses to be swayed by convenience or popularity. That cost might strip away certain things from your life, but it cannot take away the satisfaction of knowing you stayed true to your convictions, and that, no matter the price, is worth more than any temporary gain. Real kindness is not simply about making people feel good. It is about doing what is genuinely best for them. True kindness is anchored in truth, because without truth, kindness becomes empty, shallow, and sometimes even harmful. When kindness is separated from truth, it can easily turn into flattery, enabling, or appeasement. Actions that may soothe someone temporarily, but ultimately leave them in the same place or even worse off than before. Truth gives kindness its depth, direction, and lasting impact. Kindness that is rooted in truth is willing to go beyond surface level comfort to address what truly matters. It refuses to pretend that everything is fine when it isn't. It does not cover over wrong just to keep the peace, nor does it avoid uncomfortable conversations simply to maintain a pleasant atmosphere. Real kindness cares too much about the other person's well-being to let them continue down a harmful path without warning. It understands that the best way to help someone is to deal honestly with the reality of their situation. There is a difference between being nice and being kind. Niceness often focuses on keeping interactions smooth and agreeable, avoiding offense at all costs. Kindness, especially when rooted in truth, is concerned with the deeper good of the other person. Niceness might say, "I'll agree with you so you feel supported," but kindness says, "I love you enough to be honest, even if it's uncomfortable." Niceness maintains appearances. Kindness seeks transformation. When kindness is grounded in truth, it becomes a tool for real change. For example, if a friend is making choices that will hurt them, truth-based kindness does not just smile and hope things get better. It speaks up, even if it risks tension. It says, "I care about you too much to stay silent." That kind of kindness is not about winning an argument or proving a point. It's about protecting and guiding someone toward a better path. It might sting in the moment, but it plants seeds of awareness that can lead to lasting change. Truth gives kindness the courage to set boundaries. Without truth, kindness can be manipulated and taken advantage of. People may use your good nature for their own selfish purposes, and without discernment, you might allow it because you think saying no is unkind. But kindness rooted in truth understands that enabling destructive behavior is not loving, it's harmful. Setting limits, refusing to participate in what's wrong, and holding people accountable are all forms of kindness when they are grounded in the desire to see someone grow and improve. Kindness without truth can unintentionally keep people trapped. It can allow cycles of sin, abuse, or self-destruction to continue unchecked because no one is willing to address them honestly. In the moment, it might seem easier to stay silent or to say what the other person wants to hear. But silence and false reassurance offer no real help. They may delay discomfort, but they also delay healing. Truth-based kindness is willing to endure short-term discomfort for the sake of long-term good. This kind of kindness also protects relationships from becoming superficial. If all you ever offer are agreeable words and polite gestures, your relationships may remain friendly, but they will lack depth. Strong, healthy relationships are built on trust, and trust is built on honesty. When someone knows you will tell them the truth even when it's hard, they know they can rely on you. They may not always like what you say, but they will respect that you care enough to be honest. Real kindness, rooted in truth, is also a reflection of humility. It recognizes that we too need others to speak truth into our lives. We are not above correction, and when we offer it to others, we do so from a place of shared humanity, not superiority. This humility softens the delivery of truth, making it more likely to be received. Kindness does not use truth as a weapon to tear someone down, but as a tool to build them up. It speaks with compassion, patience, and respect, always aiming to restore, not to shame. There is a cost to this kind of kindness. It may lead to awkward conversations, resistance, or even temporary strain in relationships. People do not always welcome truth, especially when it challenges their choices or beliefs. But avoiding the truth to preserve short-term harmony often results in long-term harm. In contrast, kindness that is grounded in truth may cause discomfort now, but can prevent deeper pain later. The temporary discomfort is worth it if it helps someone make a better choice or see a clearer path forward. Kindness rooted in truth also requires discernment. Not every truth needs to be spoken at every moment, and the way truth is delivered matters just as much as the truth itself. A harsh, careless delivery can make even the most important truth hard to hear. But when kindness frames the truth with empathy, it becomes more likely to reach the heart. It considers the timing, the tone, and the words used, aiming not to wound but to help. Ultimately, real kindness does not separate itself from truth, because truth is what makes kindness powerful. Without truth, kindness is like a light without brightness. It may have the form, but it lacks the ability to truly guide. Truth ensures that your kindness is not just pleasant but purposeful, not just comforting but life-changing. It keeps your compassion from becoming empty sentiment and transforms it into something that can bring real hope and lasting good. When kindness is rooted in truth, it may not always be easy, but it will always be meaningful. It will challenge, protect, and uplift. It will refuse to flatter for the sake of approval, choosing instead to love in a way that leads to growth. And while it may not always be appreciated in the moment, it will leave a lasting impact, because the combination of truth and kindness has the power to transform lives in a way that neither could achieve alone.